politically most tumultuous time, Philip Murgor. Thank you so much for spotting me. I had not spotted you. Perhaps you were just behind there. You served under Moi, but perhaps if you were to look at the life and time of the former president, what is it that you remember the most about the life and times of the former president that would teach the current generation before you depart?
Murimi, we can hardly hear because of the helicopters, but
perhaps if you could just raise your voice.
I was actually asking you to stop blocking my view, but now that you've asked me to comment, of course I must. We are here today to escort a great man, a great leader, a statesman who was truly the kind of leader that this country needed at that time. So we are here to stand by him and escort him home to his final resting place.
Thank you so much. Philip Murgor, a former director of public prosecutions. The body already here, what you can see is the hearse ferrying the body to the airport from the Lee funeral home. It will be, of course, expected to go through some little military fanfare before it's put on the chopper from the Kenya Air Force. This is the same hearse that ferried the body from the Nyayo National Stadium after that memorial service yesterday. Hoping that my voice is still clear because it's quite noisy here with the sound of the choppers. And the military had been here for quite some time because even as we came as early as 5, they were already here just checking to make sure that everything goes as planned. They are now preparing to remove the casket from the hearse. We will be going closer to just get you the images with my colleague here, Timon. And you can see the military fanfare, the marching soldiers, as well as the colorful official uniforms of the soldiers as they give their former commander-in-chief the befitting send-off accorded to former heads of state, the man who was the commander-in-chief for 24 years. And they are now preparing to just remove the casket from the hearse, and it is of course expected that there will be some little military fanfare here before the body is loaded onto the chopper. Remember, this is history being documented here for Kenya because this is happening only for the second time. The very first time having been during Moi'S' time after his death in 1978. Perhaps if we could just walk around so that we also don't block the military officers. If we could just move around so that we don't block the military officers as they go about their exercise. Perhaps you could just hear what is happening here. And there you go, the signal or the signs that the journey to the former president's send-off is on the home stretch as they load the casket with the body of the man who was the country's president for 24 years into the chopper from the Kenya Air Force. I can spot the family of the former president here, Baringo Senator Gideon Moi also here, but perhaps you could just hear a little of what is happening with the military before we can have more of this conversation. Yes, and they are loading the casket into the chopper. The clearest sign that the journey to Kabarak has begun, where the final send-off ceremony is expected to begin. The procession to the burial, according to the schedule that we received earlier, was to begin at 8, and therefore perhaps for the Kenyans that have converged there, most of who did not get the opportunity to view the body at the parliament buildings, will have the opportunity to just pay their final respect in Kabarak. Remember, the residents there had at some point requested to get the opportunity to view the body, most of who did not make it to Nairobi, and therefore the opportunity to just pay their final respect presents itself here today. I am with my colleague here, Timothy Otieno. Timothy, you were at the Lee funeral home. You followed the convoy here. Finally, the journey begins to Kabarak. What would you say of Mzee and the whole exercise, given that perhaps this is the first time such a ceremony is happening in our generation, the very second time after Mzee Jomo Kenyatta's one in the 78?
Well, I think you and I were not there when Jomo Kenyatta received his final send-off, but from my own opinion, I think the former president, Mzee Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, has received what was due for him. He's been given the respect that he deserved. I think he's been honored not only by the military but by the civilians. Over the last 3 days that we've seen his body lie in state at Parliament, hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of Kenyans have come to pay their last respect. So he was a man who was loved by many. He's been given that dignity and that honor and that respect in his final hour. And even as his body now heads to Kabarak, I think throughout the day we will be able to see more of that in Kabarak from all those leaders who will be there and the people in that particular county who are not able to make it to Nairobi to give their final respect. So I think he's gotten dignity, honor, respect in his last days here on earth.
Thank you so much. So the clearest signs that the journey to Kabarak has begun. I don't know if we could just get you pictures of also the family that is here to witness this very monumental event, a very important day to the family of the former president. There you go, and that's the family of the senator for Baringo, Gideon Moi, already here. Him among a host of other national leaders that are here to witness this moment of history as the body departs to Kabarak. Just have a look at the military fanfare also as we signal the departure of the casket from the Wilson airport here. And you would say also this will go in history as perhaps not just a monumental moment, but also sentimental moment for key leaders in the country, including President Uhuru Kenyatta, a political mentee of the former president. He spoke about it yesterday, and at some point when he passed the message to Kenyans that President Moi had passed away, he wondered loudly in a question that he posed from State House what you would say of a man who achieved so much, and perhaps that is clear for you to see from even from the condolence messages that came from the Nyayo National Stadium yesterday. Key point being perhaps his input in the education sector, a former teacher who did the unthinkable at the time, making his way into politics within the colonial period, and apparently also ascending to the presidency within a very short time. Many had dismissed him as a passing cloud due to the high-octane succession politics preceding the death of the founding president, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. But ultimately, he would cling to that position for over 2 decades, 24 years as the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, the same man who also made the initial transition as President Yoweri Museveni remembered yesterday in the merger between KANU and KADU in 1964 that ushered the country into the one-party state. And he was also the same man who opened the floodgate for multipartyism in 1992 after that clamor that at some point put the politics on the extreme. And there was a confession from none other than former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, a long-time critic of the former president, that he might have been a victim of